Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, the Modern Warfare 3 beta went live for PlayStation for this weekend. And with that, we got a bunch of settings to break down between your best controller settings, graphic settings, audio, everything in between. So that's exactly what we're doing here today. For what it's worth, next weekend when the beta is live on PC as well, I'll have a separate settings video out for that, since obviously some things are different between console and PC. But as we get into the details here today, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you find it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee we're always up to date with everything going on in COD on a daily basis, I got you covered. Whether it's news, updates, patch notes, reveals, you name it, it's here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But when you first enter your settings tab in the top right, you have the quick settings here. Initially, you can just customize this to bring up whatever settings quickly you want. This tab doesn't really matter. We start off with controller though, and what's nice is that if you actively play MW2 or Warzone on this console already on your PlayStation or next week on PC and Xbox, it saves a lot of your settings. So you don't have to go through and mess with things unless of course you're playing it for the first time on this platform. Initially though, with button layout, personally, I just straight up play on tactical. It's like a quick change to make it so that my thumbstick is my slide. That way you can slide cancel a little bit easier. I've got buttons on the back of my controller so I can melee with circle as well. But really the best way to do this is just to go through and customize your keybinds to whatever you want them to do. So if you want, up on the D-pad to do something specific, you can do that as opposed to, anything else. So that's a cool feature that we have back again here. Bumper ping I usually have off. Same deal with flipping because I have digital tap triggers, but you can change that stuff if you want to for your individual specific controller there. Stick layout I also keep on default. That's more of a preference thing. Vibration you definitely want off just for accuracy and aiming purposes. It's cool for immersion when your controller vibrates, but if you're trying to be precise with your aim, you don't want any vibrations happening. And same deal with trigger effect there as well. Now, the first really cool thing here that we get with MW3 is dead zone inputs, because this is going to allow us to figure out what the best dead zone is for your specific controller with this new dead zone test. This is a really cool thing. So you'll notice now I have it set to 0 just for the sake of testing this. If I go and press on here and I test, you'll notice that right away my left thumbstick is -1 already moving there. And if I go ahead and I move my right one a little bit, you're going to see numbers underneath the face cam there. Goes between 2 and 1. So really what this says is that I need to have my dead zone above those numbers so that I don't have that up here. So if I stop testing and I jump up to 3 on each of these, let's say for the sake of testing, and I go through and test right away when I'm not touching anything, zeros all around. When I move my sticks around and I go back, zeros all around. So you just have to move your dead zone up to what 0 is here after you move your sticks around, and that's your best dead zone for your specific controller. That's going to be different for everyone. What you do want to do is change L2 and R2 dead zones to 0. That way your trigger is activated instantly basically there, so that's nice to see as well. We then go into our aiming settings here. For sensitivity this year, we can go all the way up to 20 yet again. I like to play in more of a medium sense. That way close range, I'm not too fast or too slow, and same deal for long range. I also like to stagger mine. So horizontal I have as 9, vertical I have as 8, because you don't have to do less movement with vertical, so you can have it a little bit slower there. We do have custom sensitivities as well that we'll get to in just a moment. As far as the general sensitivity multiplier, I never really adjust this because it's just tablet and ground vehicles, but you can adjust that if you feel the need to. Vertical aim access, I also don't mess with at all. I just keep that on standard. And tack stance sensitivity, I'd actually drop down just a little bit. That way it's not going to be as snappy and as fast, so you can be a little bit more accurate when you're doing that tack stance hip fire like maneuver. For aim response curve type, dynamic is again going to be the way to go here. Linear is also a good choice, but dynamic is what you'll see pretty much all the pros playing on. And you can actually change the slope scale on this, although I wouldn't adjust with that. You're just going to have tricky situations there trying to match it. I just leave it as default. It's going to feel natural, just like in recent years, right? ADS sensitivity multiplier focus I keep as 1 there. The timing I keep as instant, and then we go for custom sensitivities per zoom here. So for what it's worth, I just have this balance in increments of 5. If you want to customize this specifically and have it say like 0.83 or 0.91, if you plug in a keyboard and mouse, then you can fully customize it. Otherwise, just going up and down, it'll be increments of 5. But I like to have my lower zooms be a little bit lower, so 0.85, 0.9, 0.9. Then as I get to the higher zooms, I go back up to 1 and transition back up to that basically. Target aim assist you have on, that's very standard for your basic aim assist. And then Black Ops, I still like the feel of. This is what's the most broken with rotational aim assist. When you're moving your left stick, you're going to get more aim assist slowdown and drag when you have Black Ops on there. So that's the way to go for that. Motion censoring is like the gyro aiming. I would not recommend that at all. That's just going to be awkward unless that's something you're interested in which case feel free to go for it. Now for gameplay, auto tack sprint definitely back here with slide canceling and the sort of aggressive movement that MW3 brings to the table. So we go for for that there, absolutely. I don't have auto move forward on though. That's a little bit awkward there. Tack sprint behavior I do have as double tap, but I have auto tack sprint on, so that's not really a relevant setting. However, if you don't have ATS, you might want to change this to single tap sprint to save your thumbstick just a little bit, right? Grounded mantle I have on off, partial, and off with all these in unison, just like in years past. This is going to make it so that you're not going to mantle randomly in gunfights. If you're trying to jump shot or something, it won't like prioritize that. So that's a really nice thing you want to focus on there. This makes it so that it's not going to interrupt you in any awkward situations. Standard for invert slide and dive behavior is the way to go this year. Tap to slide, obviously with slide canceling back, you want to have that on there. Plunging underwater I have as trigger, so you sprint and look down to plunge underneath the water there. Sprinting door bash, so you bust through the doors, I also have on so you can quickly get through that. Mantle only for the ledge climb behavior. ADS's hold, that's very standard. Change the zoom shared optic input is the sprint button. You can also change that to melee if you wanted to. That's all preference based there. Holding equipment, ADS to melee for my weapon mount. However, if you want it to be double tap or whatever the case may be, again, that's just whatever's comfortable for you. There's no really a best option there. ADS down is for the tactical ADS activation. This one's going to be a little bit awkward for I think everyone to get used to go into that tack stance stuff. So that's going to be something you want to test around and see which one feels the most comfortable for you. Tactical ADS behavior I have on always. Prioritize interact is something you want to have for Warzone, but for multiplayer, tap to reload so you get that quick reload off is going to be the way to go for that. ADS stick swap I keep on off, and then weapon mount exit you want to have that on short. I don't like my weapons switching when they run out of ammo, so I keep that on off. I want to do that myself. Then quick C4 detonation 1 by 1 is the way to go there, so you can throw one C4, explode it, throw the second, explode it, nice and quick. Short delay for the camera recenter, free look out for the vehicles, and then melee for the lean out. Very standard there, but preference based again. And then the overlay behaviors don't really matter all that much for that. We then get into graphic settings, and as we get into graphics and visuals here, gotta give a shout out to my friends over at Gamer Advantage. If you're grinding the beta this weekend, next weekend, MW3 and Warzone when they launch, or if you're just looking at screens for long periods of time, you gotta do yourself a favor and pick up a pair of Gamer Advantage glasses. They're gonna reduce your eye strain, your headaches. They're even gonna help you sleep better at night. They're a game changer. Obviously, I wear them every single day, and since I started wearing them, I've noticed drastic improvements in my quality when I'm sitting here looking at screens all day long. So if you do want to get a pair for yourself, throw in code Immortal at checkout. It'll get you a nice little discount. So initially, if you want your game to look pretty, you do have to have on-demand texture streaming on. For console, on PC, I would turn this off. Then we'll talk about that next week, obviously. For the post-processing effects, this stuff is super important here. Turn off world motion blur, turn off weapon motion blur, turn off film grain, turn off depth of field, and then fidelity cast I would turn on. I'd have that at about 80. 100 is a little bit OD, but you can kind of change this to however you want. It's going to basically make your game look sharper essentially, but everything else is going to hurt your visual clarity. You want to turn all that off right away. Now, if you have an applicable monitor, you can play on 120 hertz. I do here, so I have that on, but if you don't have a 120 hertz monitor, you won't see that setting. Field of view is available for everyone, and of course, I like to play on max field of view. I think the most ideal is somewhere between about 100 and 110, so change that as you want, but I like max FOV with affected field of view so that your visual recoil is going to be a lot lower, obviously. Then I have the wide on the weapon field of view, so I can see around a little bit more. Camera shake, you want to have this at least so that your screen obviously is going to be bouncing around a little bit less. It's going to help out with visual clarity as well. If you want the blacked out screen for flashes, you can turn that on. If you want the white out, you can leave that off. That's totally preference there. Helmet camera or game perspective for spectator doesn't really matter. Brightness is all your preference, and then safe area as well. We then get into audio here, and for console, things are going to be very specific as to what you're going for. Home theater, though, based on, every single year seems to be very consistent for footstep audio. Also, headphone bass boost is good for that as well, but it's going to make your sound really loud, so just keep that in mind. But obviously, if you're playing, on a TV, you might not want to have the same exact thing. So it is a little bit specific to your audio setup, but for me, home theater is going to be what highlights footsteps the most. And then you just have to mess with your master volume here. So music is going to give you no vital intel. You can turn that off unless you like the score, but in game that does nothing for you. Dialogue is important for, enemy streaks or in Warzone, having people jump down from the sky, enemy AO, stuff like that. So you want to have dialogue at least a little bit high so that you're actively hearing this clearly in game. Effects volume, that's gunfire, footsteps, everything like that. That's obviously what you want to have the loudest. Voice chat, you can change that to whatever you want. And then cinematic music doesn't really matter either. You could have that all the way up or all the way off. That shouldn't have an effect in game. Really, the only important ones here are effects and dialogue. So just pay attention to those. Voice chat stuff, just there's totally preference if you want to have it on or off. Last words is like the death chat, so if you want to hear those funny reactions, you can turn that on. Then mic sensitivity on the PlayStation controllers sucks, so I just mute it on your PlayStation controller, honestly. Subtitles, if you want those on, you can absolutely turn those on. Mono audio, do not turn this on. Keep that off, absolutely. Reduced tinnitus sound, definitely have this on. This will make it so that the ringing is not as annoying in game. And then jug music, if you want that on, go for it. I like the sound of classic hit markers as well, as opposed to Modern Warfare 3. And then for interface, this is largely preference-based, but there are a few things that I find to be very useful here, and that's going to be all down in telemetry. But for HUD, square minimap, please run square minimap. Do not run a circle minimap. You get more information from square. Everything else I keep on standard. Crosshairs also, you want to have that on, and I like having center dot on as well. It just helps it for recentering when you're sprinting or you don't have a crosshair up. That's nice and convenient. I keep that as the default size, but you can make it larger if you wanted to. Hit markers you probably want to have on there as well. In-game text chat, you can turn that on or off if you want, but telemetry is important here. For console, server latency and packet loss is what you want to have on. If you're on PC next weekend, obviously FPS will be important too, but seeing your connection to the match is obviously very important, so having server latency and packet loss gives you information on that. Everything else here is pretty much irrelevant. You don't need gameplay tips in most cases, so you can turn those off. But yeah, that's basically all the settings here. Everything in account and network doesn't really matter. There's nothing you can really change there. So yeah, that being said, those are the best settings for MW3 as of right now. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It would be really appreciated. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee you're always up to date with all things going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.